Hi guys, we have a new podcast. Planet Marzipan presents Planet Music. It's a sister podcast, non-Marillion related, but it's a podcast that me and John have been planning for a good year or so now, and it's something to celebrate the art of the album. We present to you here on our normal channel, our pilot episode, which is by Tears for Fears, which is their third studio album, The Seeds of Love. We thought we'd bring it to you as a bit of a bonus so you can get a feel of it. If you want to like and subscribe, it's got its own channel. We have a Facebook group for it as well, which would be great for people to come and join in and have a talk about albums and pick some new albums that you think we should actually cover. This obviously is not in the way of Planet Marzipan. That will still be happening every Tuesday, and Planet Music will go out on a Thursday. First few will be weekly, then it'll probably move to every 2 weeks. But give this a listen. If you like it, great, come and join us. Our first 6 episodes, we cover bands for range from Pet Shop Boys to Simple Minds to Pink Floyd to Queen and Elton John. So there's a bit of something for everyone. Check this one out, our first one. Tears for Fears, The Seeds of Love. Enjoy. This is Planet Music.
Welcome to Planet Music from the makers of Planet Marzipan.
In a streaming world, we're proud to be a podcast that celebrates the art of the album. Hello, and welcome to Planet Music, an occasional podcast where we look at albums in their entirety. I'm Mezza. I'm here with my good friend
Craig.
And we have some guests with us for this first episode. We welcome Graham Tennick.
Afternoon.
Hello. And Mikie.
Hi.
Hello. Well, as you've seen from the title of the episode, we're going to take an in-depth look at Tears for Fears' third album, The Seeds of Love. We're going to start with a reading from Wikipedia, the good book, and then take it from there, really. So Seeds of Love is the third studio album by the English pop rock band Tears for Fears, released on the 25th of September 1989 by Fontana Records. It retained the band's epic sound while incorporating influences ranging from jazz and soul to Beatlesque pop. Its lengthy production and scrapped recording sessions cost over £1 million. The album spawned the title hit single Sowing the Seeds of Love, as well as Woman in Chains and Advice for the Young at Heart, both of which reached the top 40 in several countries. Seeds of Love was an international success, entering the UK chart at number 1 and top 10 in other countries, including the US. It's been certified gold or platinum in several territories, including the UK, the US, France, Germany, Canada, and the Netherlands. So, Tears for Fears' third album, the follow-up to Songs from the Big Chair. It was a pretty momentous time for the band, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just the year, was it the year before when they repurposed Everybody Wants to Rule the World to Everybody Wants to Run the World for the Sport Aid song?
Yes, yeah.
So they'd been riding high over the last couple of years before this.
Well, I think Big Chair was a hell of an album to follow up, wasn't it? It was massive for them.
Yeah, it was big. And especially so in the US, I think they had a lot riding on that. The record company essentially said to them, take as long as you like, spend as much money as you like, come back and give us a super duper album. And unfortunately for the record company, Tears for Fears took them exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, really, you mentioned Run the World, but Run the World was a reaction, wasn't it? Because they were meant to open, they're not meant to open Live Aid at Philly, and they had to cancel it.
Might be right.
And George Thorogood had to do it instead. So when they didn't open up for Live Aid, they said that they gave some of the concert proceeds from the tour to the charity, and then they released a single in aid of Sport Aid as a way of making up for having to cancel.
Okay.
So to be asked to open Live Aid in the US shows just how big they were at that time and over there.
Yeah. Well, the Big Chair had a pretty stable lineup. The first two albums were Roland Orzabal, Kurt Smith, Ian Stanley, and Manny Elias.
Mhm.
That's not the lineup on this album, though.
No, it's not.
Not at all.
I think there's quite a lot of Mike and I both read, I'm sure you've read it as well, Grae, read through the information in the Super Deluxe edition. There's a really good interview with Paul from Super Deluxe edition in the box set. And I think Kurt wanted to move. The first two albums were mainly built up from sequences and sequences, and the songs sort of happened in that way. But Kurt wanted a more what's the word? A more
Organic.
That's the word. That'll do. More organic sound with live band and live players, and that's really, I think, why Stanley's not on the record. I mean, he's on Seeds of Love, the track, and he co-wrote one of the B-sides as well. But I think he sort of dropped out the process very early on.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting, even what you read out there from Wikipedia, where it said the English pop rock band. If you think about it, they were, when they first came out, they were considered part of the kind of synth pop stuff and the way they worked.
Yeah.
And this album was a fundamental change.
Yes, yeah.
And that change is probably what, well, we know it is. It's what changed the lineup in this instance, and then preceded what happened afterwards between Kurt and Roland. So, yeah.
Do you think it's almost stereotypical that it's a band's third album where they kind of up the game somewhat?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really, I like songs from the Big Chair, but I consider it a collection of singles rather than an album.
Yeah, I get you with that.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a proper album in my book. You know, there's not as many singles off this, or hit singles off this, and I think it's better for it. But we'll talk about it in depth really shortly.
That's interesting. So, if I'm honest, at the time, if we look back when it came out, I loved the first two albums. I thought they were amazing. When this came out, I was like, oh, that's not what I expected. And it took me a long time to come to terms with it and get back into the album. Right. Now, when I listen to it, and as we talk through the songs, we'll cover it. But it's almost a microcosm of everything that was great about music in the 80s. Everything that's on it, the way it's done, and you can hear so many other, not necessarily influences, but you can hear so much of the 80s in that one album. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I feel the other way. I love it far more than the previous two. And I was a little bit silly because I didn't stay with Kurt when he split with Roland, and I bitterly regret it because Elemental, which follows this, is an absolutely amazing record too, but I didn't on principle buy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first single from the album was the title track in August '89.
Yeah, it's Beatles-esque. Is the
Doesn't cover it, does it? Really?
Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, I'd love to know how they got it past their wives calling the single sowing the seeds of love. Remember the hassle that Marillion had with walking circles.
Well, I mean, you say that in jest, but
I know
Kurt was actually splitting with his wife during the recording of this album.
Yeah, because you told him not the face, but that's what you got to say.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a divorce album for him, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's why he's not as involved in it, I think.
It's funny. It's almost as if the song, for me, the song takes over the mantle of what ELO were, because ELO to me was very Beatles-esque pop rock.
Yeah.
And this, when I heard this, I was like, "What? Holy shit, this is amazing!" I mean, although I didn't like the album itself at the time, that song had so much of what I loved about pop music as opposed to the rock stuff that I liked. It was just brilliant.
I feel the combination, it almost has a a Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer feel to it in respect of the visuals from the video are so ingrained in your head when you listen to the song. And the video, I mean, they spent the amount of money that they must have spent on the video for the single would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Because of all the effects and
it
things
was-
and stuff in it.
I was going
Yeah,
to
that was-
brought that reference up, but there's a lot of this album that makes me think of Peter Gabriel. So,
Yeah, it kind of does, yeah. The video was actually directed by Jim Blashfield. You will know two of his other videos quite well, Craig. One was Paul Simon's Boy in the Bubble,
Oh, right, yeah.
and another one was Michael Jackson's Leave Me Alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Both of which preceded this one. But you can see where the imagery kind of lies with it.
Yeah.
God, is Leave Me Alone that old?
Yeah.
Yeah, 87.
I think it was a great lead into the album. It created a lot of media interest at the time, which
Yeah.
is exactly what they were looking for.
It did seem to be everywhere.
It's a little
Yeah.
too beatly for me, if I'm honest, but I still enjoy it. It's not, you're not quite in Oasis territory, but you're moving across to it.
Ooh.
You know how I think about Oasis, but
Yeah.
I don't have a ticket for the gigs, and I wouldn't want one if you give it to me.
I offered two for Manchester. I told him where to shove them.
Yeah, in the bin. But yeah, I thought Seeds of Love was a great lead in and a great advert for what was to come. And then when we saw the artwork for the album as well, which matches the video, obviously,
yeah,
all ties in, doesn't it? What were the B-sides to Seeds of Love, Mikey?
Just the one. It was Tears Roll Down, in its original form.
Yeah.
Mostly instrumental with just a lyrical refrain about a minute from the end, which obviously went on to redevelop before the Greatest Hits came out, which was also called Tears Roll Down. But they renamed it Laid So Low, in brackets, Tears Roll Down. A great song. It's a shame he didn't develop it further, while they were actually doing the sessions for the album. But as with a lot of the B-sides on this album, they're pretty much just the jams that didn't make it to the final cut. So I don't think a lot of them were set out to be recorded as B-sides. I think it's just where a lot of the fodder was swept.
I mean, Tears for Fears B-sides are really, really eclectic, aren't they? Have you got is it Saturnine and Martial? Have you got that album? The
Yes.
It's all over the shop. When it's great, it's amazing, and when it's not, it's weird as fuck.
There's one way to put it. Yeah.
Well, it is. It is. And the B-sides for this album are very similar. We'll talk about Johnny Panic and the Bible of Dreams shortly, which is almost like a dance track, isn't it? It's anyhow.
But reading up on the song itself, it was written about 2 years prior to release. It had been hanging around for a while.
Yes.
It was written in 87 during the general election.
That makes sense.
Well, that's where the
politician granny with the high ideals
from.
Yeah, that's where that comes from.
That's ridiculous.
So, and he had a house or flat or whatever, and across the road from him, there was some graffiti on a wall, which was a painting of a sunflower, and the words "I love a sunflower," and that's in the song.
Right.
And this is all him just kind of mind-bending juxtapositions while he's sitting writing while the general election's going on. So a lot of it's to do with his anger and the anger of the public not doing the research. It's like, pick up a book, Thatcherism for Dummies, understand what she's doing to the country. His anger shown on lines like "kick out the style, bring back the jam," which was his little dig at the fact that the Jam used to be quite political in their musical output, and when the Style Council came around, they were a bit more watered down and a bit more mainstream pop. And he was like, no, we need to get back to shouting about things. And he'd also heard a radio program where this guy was basically going around collecting old English folk songs. And one of the folk songs was written by somebody who called himself Mr. England, and the poem he wrote was The Seeds of Love. So the line "Mr. England sowing the seeds of love" is taken from that radio program he heard. So
Hey, he's got bits from everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, it's to be fair, as a single, it's very brave. I mean, it's quite long for a single. It didn't really get edited that much from the album version.
It's over 6 minutes on the album, isn't it? What's it's like?
So, considering not what 15 years or so previously, Queen were lambasted for how long Bohemian Rhapsody was, and this is longer. You know,
5:43 for the single version, wasn't it?
It's not very edited, then, is it?
Not very edited, no.
It's not very edited.
Okay, all right.
It spent 9 weeks in the top 100.
Very good. A great advert for the album.
Yeah.
Shall we get stuck into the record?
Go on then.
Side 1. Woman in Chains.
Beautiful song.
Stunning song.
It's beautiful, doesn't cover it. It's amazing.
To me, don't know if it sounds quite Bruce Hornsby in a lot of respects. Just in the initial production and the stuff like that.
And it makes me think of George Michael as well.
Does it?
Yeah, I can get that. Yeah.
From the Listen Without Prejudice album kind of stuff, the area where he was Jesus to a Child and all that kind of stuff. And
Listen Without Prejudice, Volume 1's fantastic.
You can tell it's Manu Katché on the drum from the opening, can't you?
Yeah.
And then I presume it's Pino Palladino with that bass slap at the top of the song. But Alita Adams on this is just out of this world, isn't she? She's such a discovery for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, hadn't they found her in a pub in a
bar, yeah. They found her in a bar. They came home and I think they were struggling to get things together. So they went back over.
Yeah.
They went back over to see her. And she got offered a solo deal and features on 3 tracks on the album. But
so I do have a question about the song though. Do we think it's? I mean, I know it works now, but it's really weird. I think as an album opener.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that grabs your attention straight away. It's a beautiful song. It's amazing when you give it the attention it's due. It's amazing, but it's not the kind of thing that grabs you by the short and curlies and go right. We're off.
I think it's by the end of the song, you're all in.
Yeah,
because it builds and builds, and you know.
Okay. Yeah.
So free her bit. It's just amazing. I mean, the whole song's brilliant.
Yeah.
And of course, it's got Philip on it as well. Mr. Collins is on the end of it.
Yeah. From about 3.5 minutes in, that's Phil Collins.
Yeah. It's brilliant. It's an absolutely stunning opener, and it was a single as well.
It was, yeah. It was the second single, wasn't it? It came out before Christmas. It was about October, November time.
Yeah, 12th of November it came out. Didn't do that well. It got to 26 at its highest point, and it came in at 44 when it was released, which was a bit of a shame.
But also around about that time, Uninvited Guest came out, didn't it? And that did crap. Who's
that by?
So. I don't know, some prog beat combo that we've not really talked about much.
Surely you need to be on a different podcast to talk about that.
Yeah, I'll just jump over to that podcast now.
Yeah. What do you make? I mean, Wikipedia has a little piece on Woman in Chains saying it's been described as a feminist anthem.
I think that's what people assume it is. Roland has said, yeah, kinda, but he sees it as everybody having a feminine part of them, and the "so free her" bit isn't necessarily about a woman who's been bound in a cellar or anything. It's about freeing the feminine side from within you.
Right. I
can see why people would pick it up as a feminist mantle. It makes sense that they would.
Yeah. It's stunning track. Do you want to talk about B-sides, or shall we move on?
Yeah, do it. Do it while you're doing it.
So, Mikey, one of your favourite B-sides on this, Always in the Past?
Always in the Past, which I personally think should have been on the album. The bass line at the start, the do 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 do. I think just it's such a good hook. It kind of whittles away to nothing towards the end.
I think that's it.
Primarily just because it's a jam that wasn't fully developed.
Well, I think that's it. With these B-sides,
I think it should have been on the album.
They didn't spend as much time on them, did they? So,
well, they probably ran out of time as the
running out of time after working on it for 3 years.
Well, when there's like anecdotes, like they can spend 6 weeks just working on a hi-hat, and producers going on holiday and coming back and finding that they're still working on the same, one little cymbal noise. It's just no.
Yeah. This sounds very Chateau Marouat as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, not far away. The other B-side was My Life in the Suicide Ranks, which again,
I hate that song. I really don't like it.
It's just a rambling bit of
don't like it.
It's improv, and I think was just probably one of the more developed jams that was lying around at the time.
Like I said, they're either brilliant or utter, bonkers, and that falls into the bonkers category for me.
You mean genius about it?
No, I don't mean that.
But it's weird that so my life in the Suicide Ranks, like rambling's the best way to do it, and when you consider that to the precision and the production and the development of everything else, the songs that made the album and some of the B-sides, although they were still demos, they were really well formed. That's just barking.
Yeah,
it really
absolutely, is. Absolutely. Totally agree with you. Let's get back to the main album then. Track 2, Nicky Holland, Roland Orzabal even, song, Badman song.
Love it.
It's jazz, isn't it?
It is. It's jazz. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a jazz fan as such. I mean, I'll listen to some of it. It depends if we're talking modern or trad, but I love this song.
It doesn't quite go jazz. It doesn't quite go Jazz Odyssey though.
No. The intro's jazz until you get the big guitar riff, and then it's 8 minutes 32. It's a long song. Gospel refrain, big guitars. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Not quite prog though.
Not like it is probably.
Not quite.
No, I would say it probably is. Yeah.
Its reason for being seems a bit odd as well, doesn't it?
Well, born out of him hearing two of the bands criticising him on the.
Oh, having a go at him, isn't it? Yeah, through a room. Yeah.
I don't know.
I suppose it's self-aware, isn't it? I am the bad man.
Well, yeah.
I think a lot of it as well comes from his primal scream therapy that he was going through as well, because he said there's obviously the part in the middle where the Faith Can Move Mountains bit, where it goes from jazz into sort of like gospel soul. He said something along the lines of, through punishment comes redemption. And I think he's the sort of person that punishes himself or allows himself to become punished so that he can feel good at the other side of it. Into these lyrics until the cows come home. There's so much to take on board. But I love that breakdown in the middle after the guitar solo, because you've got this.
Well, that's jazz.
It was mostly
Yeah.
I think it was mostly improv. You've got Alita going mad on the piano, and you've got the bass coming in. I think that was Pino, and it's almost like a jazz battle going on. It's beautiful, and then it just straight back into it. It just builds and it builds and it builds, and it just ends with a crash. It's just.
That guitar riff, that guitar riff on its own is a big enough hook.
Yeah,
for me,
I think it's a really good example of the way the album itself was written and recorded, because it was all, rather than we already said right at the top, rather than having all the sequences and all the bits that they did this was more organic. It was about jam sessions and building things up, kind of like another band that we know. But so taking that time to develop ideas, and I think that's where when you've got the different elements of the song, and where it breaks down and comes back, and you've got that, it's almost like that cutting heads type thing in the middle where they're fighting with each other to change, and it comes back in with it. So you only get that from jamming. You only get that from playing off each other, not from being formulaic.
Yeah.
I mean, this song to me's got like 3 quite clear, distinct movement parts to it, yet. For a cut and paste job, from loads of little jams and sessions, it doesn't feel cut and paste. It's just flows beautifully.
Yeah, because the transitions work, don't they? They're natural transitions. Well, they are. I think Nikki Holland was part of the previous tour, so she was around when this happened. And whereas Ian Stanley was one of the co-writers on the last album, Nikki Holland is the keyboard player in this band and has co-written 5 of the songs. So she's key to that, I think.
Yeah, essentially, Roland and Mikie got together writing while they were on tour and shortly after, while Kurt was going through his troubles with his marriage and his jet set lifestyle, and as the band had said at the time, I think they didn't want to rush the album because they didn't want to go on tour again so fast. So as much as the record company said, take your time with this and make the best album that you can, they were also putting off going on tour again.
Well, we haven't talked about the Spinal Tap producer role in this, because there were 3 or 4 changes of producer, weren't there?
Yes, there was.
And I think that contributed to why it took so long.
But also the relationship was disintegrating as well.
It was, but I think Roland was so focused on this record, he was just going to make it with or without Kurt.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you can see that curve already starting to happen, because on the first album you've got Kurt lyrically on the writing credits contributing to 3 or 4 songs. By the time Big Chair came round, he'd only got 2 lyrical credits, and on this one he's only got 1.
Yeah.
And the only part of Sowing the Seeds of Love that he wrote was probably the bit that everybody recognises, which is the Sowing the Seeds of Love.
It's not bad.
Which he said was like, Roland said it sounded childlike, almost like a nursery rhyme.
Yeah.
But he said it needed that because everything that Roland had going on in the song made it quite busy, and this was the glue that, made the whole song gel together and work.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, and again, even with lead singing, Kurt only sings leads on Advice, which is obviously the next.
Well, the next one we're going to talk about,
as opposed to
it wasn't just changing producers,
2 in Big Chair and 3 or 4 in the first.
It wasn't just changing producers though, because when at one point they actually just scrapped all the recordings and started.
Yeah. Well, they had Langer and Winstanley at one point, the bandits producers, and they completely scrapped all that. They didn't like the sound of it. There's one track on the box set which is an instrumental Badman song, I think, from that session.
Yeah, it's awful.
Well, it's different. I don't know if it's awful.
It's different, but you can see it does sound clinical though compared to what we got.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll not talk about Sowing the Seeds of Love because we've talked about that, which is the 3rd track on side 1, and side 1 ends with Advice for the Young at Heart,
which is another single.
Yeah.
Which is a very pop song, and it's possibly the most commercial song on the album for radio playing for like that, and I've always liked it.
It's kind of the lightest part of the album, isn't it? It's
yes.
kind of for me, it's almost a throwaway track. It's not, because I really like it.
Yeah,
but it's almost like it's the bit that if I was going to take anything out to put the ones I thought should have been on the album, that would be the one that goes.
Okay.
No,
I don't agree with that.
I think this is absolutely stunning. I think it's the closest track on the album that sounds like Tears for Fears.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think this could have fitted on Songs of the Big Chair or even The Hurting. It's Tears for Fears in a nicely wrapped box with a pink bow tied on the top. I think it should have done better. I think it should have been the second single rather than Woman in Chains, because I think that was quite a jarring change in mood. And I don't think Woman in Chains sounds particularly Tears for Fears-ish, if that also makes sense. And Advice has got some brilliant parts in it. I think the letdown for the song for me is the chorus maybe sounds a little bit saccharine, but the guitar work in it's amazing. The bridge is fantastic towards the end of the song. there's a lot going on in it that I think a lot of people just gloss over and just go, oh, it didn't do that well. It was third single, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's absolutely stunning.
I think you hit the nail on the head for me. So when you said it's the Tears for Fears song, it's the one that sounds most like, and that's why I don't think it fits on this album, because in my head there was that sea change between 1 and 2 and 3. So for me, it belonged elsewhere. It wasn't. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. I hadn't thought about it that way.
I think it's nice, but a nice sound. Oh, somebody's just dropped something outside. Nice sounds a bit twee, but we probably need that in the context of the track list of the album, I think. Yeah, I can see what you're saying, Mike. You're probably right. It's probably somewhere in that transition from what came before toward this album.
Yeah. The really funny thing about it, when it comes to the video for the single, is they've got Olita Adams featured in the video.
All right.
And she's not
in
the song on the album. It's actually Nikki Holland. so Nikki Holland said she was all right with it, but I think that was more the record company trying to hammer down the brand, if you like, for the album.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not Alita playing keyboards on this song. It's not Alita singing along with Kurt on the song. It is in fact Nikki Holland. But I think the record company are trying to sell a 3-piece at this point, after the Woman and Chains single. It kind of makes sense.
On the single, then, there were 2 B-sides. One was Music for Tables, which falls into the what the fuck category. And the other is in the same category, but for a different reason. Johnny Panic and the Bible of Dreams.
I love that song.
Great, isn't it?
It's amazing.
It's bonkers, yeah.
It is bonkers. Actually crazy, but it's great. Yeah.
And there was a dance remix of Johnny Panic as well.
There was. It didn't come out until February '91. Remixed by trip hop DJ band Floop. It got to #1 in the UK dance charts. What's not to like?
There you go. Yeah.
And I love the remix as well, but the original version, I think, is the best out of them. And to get the female rap refrain from The Seeds of Love halfway through it, I think it's brilliant. It's quite Nina Cherry sounding. It's, I think it's really clever, really cleverly done.
Yeah. On to side 2 then of the album. Standing on the Corner of the Third World.
I'm gonna
go on, Grae.
I'm just gonna shout. No, I said rather than, before we get on about the actual song itself, I'm going to give a shout out to the other backing vocalists on this album, because this one you've got Tessa Niles and is it Maggie Ryder and
it is, yeah.
If you look at the pedigree of these people, I mean, I know you've got Alita Adams doing vocals across the album, the 3 songs on the album. You've got all the stuff that she also did, like acoustic guitar and other stuff. But the pedigree of the backing vocals and the way the voices work together on this album is just mind blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, Tessa Niles is pretty much on anything in the 80s, isn't she?
And Carol Kenyon's on it as well.
That's it, Carol Kenyon. That's the other one I couldn't remember,
Yeah, and on the album as well, Craig's favourite.
Oh, yes, I was going to say that, yes. Louis Don Jardin's on it, isn't it?
Yeah, Don Jardin.
Louis Jardim is on it. Sorry, that joke might not make any sense to you if you're not listening to our other podcast, but so yeah.
And it's weird because we all know, like Manu Katché, we know Phil Collins, Pino, and all the people that are big, but I don't know if any of you is it called 40 Feet from Stardom or something in the movie about all the backing vocalists that have done so much stuff but never got famous. And you think about people like that, like Tessa Niles, like Craig said, she was on absolutely everything.
Yeah.
But only musos and audiophiles and people that get obsessed with things really know their names. And it's kind of weird because they're so, unless they become like Sheryl Crow and sort of step out of the shadows and stuff or something.
Yeah. What do you think of the track?
I love it. It's painful when you understand where it came from.
Yeah.
It makes it quite a hard listen.
Yeah.
But really well done, I think.
Was this something to do when he was in? When he was having his therapy kind of thing?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting track. It's not one that I've listened to loads because I like the singles from the album. Must be I'm a bugger for that. You know what I'm like. I like
Yeah,
me
I
pop
must admit,
songs.
when I first got this album, that was the one that made me go, "Do I want to listen to the rest of side two?"
Yeah.
You know, because it just didn't feel like Tears for Fears for me. But in hindsight, I suppose it feels a little bit like um, a, a sister to the song "I Believe," perhaps. It's got
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
same like feel to it. But I think Roland's point behind the song was a lot of it was the Western world seemed to try to fix a lot of the world's problems with our own solutions to our own problems, which don't fit the third world.
Yeah,
You know, it's
throwing
like these people are
money at
starving,
things.
throw money at them,
Yeah, throw money without
yeah, you're
understanding
done now,
anything. Yeah.
hooray, you know. And I think there was a lot of guilt for him not doing Live Aid, and I think that comes across in this song. Um, But in hindsight now, I love it. But I must admit, when I first heard this, it jarred for me. The rest of the album, a breeze, but that one was the one that I found most difficult to listen to.
Yeah.
I think for me, the album starts high, it dips in the middle, and this is included in that. I think this and Advice for the Young at Heart are both still good, but it dips in the middle, and then we've got the 3 tracks that end the album, which are right back up there again. But it needs that. You can't have it. It can't all be up there.
Light and shade.
Yeah, yeah. On to track 6 then, Swords and Knives.
It's one of the longer tracks on the album.
Well, it's 6 minutes, but there's quite a few of those.
For a pop album.
For a pop volume, you lost interest, Craig. Is that what you're saying?
You mean a neo prog album, Craig?
Oh yeah, it needs to be either 3 minutes or 15 minutes.
It's
something
a
in the
3-minute
middle.
edit for Craig. Yeah.
It was a soundtrack song, wasn't it?
It was
Yeah.
meant
What's
to
soundtrack
be.
song?
Yeah.
It
Did
feels like it.
Wasn't it? They put it forward for a film, but I don't think it was actually taken up, was it? Was it Gangs?
It was Sid and Nancy.
Sid and Nancy. That's
right,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think.
It was played because it didn't sound funky enough.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It was essentially it, which Nicky Holland said, "All right, then, okay."
Which is why it ends up on their
Well,
album,
just-
not on a soundtrack album. Right, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of that. There you go. So I've been educated.
So the line where it says "When life begins with needles and pins" is a reference to the drug taking.
Yeah.
Right.
And it ends with "Swords and knives" is about the separation. Now, Nicky Holland was reading the book, which was written by Nancy's mother. I can't remember her name, but I do apologise. But it was her
Spungen.
mother's book. Yes, that's the one. And so Nicky's basically saying this song's more about the book than what the film was.
Right.
It's more about the mother's side of the story, which when you're listening to the lyrics, that kind of makes more sense. It's a bit of a difficult listening part, but it's a fantastic song. And I love the fact that these 3 songs that end the album all seek into each other.
Yeah.
It's almost like a suite of 3 songs, which is absolutely beautiful.
The very end of this track, the next track we're going to talk about, I can't. I've got no words again. It always makes me smile. Always makes me smile. And when that drum machine comes in at the end of Swords and Knives, it's actually indexed just on the end, and you've got the crowd noise comes up for Year of the Night.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just amazing.
It's funny, considering Year of the Knife wasn't a single, it's one of the songs that I'm more familiar with from the album, and I like the kind of live introduction into it, and then it goes all over the place.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it would have been nice if they'd done a live segue out at the end just to bookend it. But
Well, okay.
It was a trick that they pulled on songs from the Big Chair,
Yeah.
and they wanted to replicate it for this album.
Yeah.
And originally, Craig, this was the first track on the album, and this first lineup.
One of
It
them,
had
yeah,
a-
because
and it had a slightly different start to it. It had more like guitar chords at the beginning along with the crowd noise. So the idea was that the album would start with the band coming on, and this was going to be the track. And it was going to be, this is the new Tears for Fears. Forget everything you've heard in the past. This is what we're doing now. And it was Roland who actually pushed for Woman in Chains to be at the front of the album. The record company wanted Sowing the Seeds of Love. The actual album itself went through quite a lot of like different changes right up until allegedly the day before it was pressed. It was like last minute change. So there's a version of Year of the Knife, which is on the deluxe box set, which is the 7-inch Canadian version, which was
it's a lot. It's like is it half the length or something, is it?
Yeah. But the start of that is how it would have started on the album, not the way we ended up getting it.
Right. Yeah.
I think the interesting thing for me is that this is one of the Bob Clay Mountain mixes. So this and Woman in Chains are Bob Clay Mountain mixes, and I think that elevates them. They sound amazing because of that. Year of the Knife,
there's just so much to it.
The rest of the album was awful. Year of the Knife would be enough for me. It's such a joyous live sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about Year of the Knife, amazing as it is, you would never know it to listen to it, but it's two completely separate takes sort of merged together. I mean, it's, as I already said, it's the highlight of the album for me, but that's even more mind-blowing.
So were there different sessions, or did you say I
think they were at different times, because as with a lot of songs on this album, they went through numerous changes. But yeah, I've already said how much I love the track on this album. You know, it's just amazing.
We did say the money we spent on the production, didn't we? So it's if they're doing that kind of thing.
Well, that's it. David Bascom actually said that the main bulk of the drum programming was done by Bob Clay Mountain.
All right.
So there was a whole section which was just programmed drums, and then there was another take of it which was live drums. So there's that middle section which I think is absolutely wonderful. You know, that hinges the two halves.
Yeah, where the bass
together. It's like eerie strings and the bass, and it's phenomenal. So the second half of that song is all live drums. There's no programmed drums on it, and I don't think anybody actually realised until the whole thing was edited together how it played out. But it was two quite distinct takes that were used.
Weird because it all feels live to me. I mean, that is a transition, but it all feels like a live track. And then it goes into Famous Last Words.
With this song finishing the album, I was surprised again when I listened to the album through how fast you actually get through the album for it being like nearly 50 minutes long. It's an old school kind of thing, and I think it's a good album closer.
It's funny, you know, because there's some things somebody wrote in one of these. I think it might have been in the liner notes for this. Somebody said that Roland's got a very good knack of writing a long song that doesn't sound long. So even if you go back to Shout, you think, oh yeah, pop song. You don't think that's over 5 minutes long.
It's 7 minutes, isn't it, Shout?
You forget how long it actually is. But
this one only feels about two.
Doesn't feel like a long song. Woman in Chains doesn't feel like a long song. They all are.
But this is one of the shorter songs on the album. But it only feels like it's on for about 2 minutes or something like that.
But it's got two definite sections, this song, hasn't it? When it heads towards the end, when the Saints go marching in at the end, the different movement to the first half of the song.
It was a single as well, wasn't it?
I think it's absolutely beautiful.
It was a single as well, wasn't it?
I think it was the fourth single, was it? Yeah, it was.
Single, and the band had nothing to do with it. That was the record company basically milking what was left of the album. They made 10,000 each of the CD single and 12-inch picture disc.
I remember that.
Like he's holding one up for us listeners.
Yeah, I remember that.
So there wasn't enough pressed for it to do that well in the charts, and it didn't. It got to number 83. But for me, a song about two people who know they're going to die, sharing their last moments together, I think it's just and to end the album. And the title for the single was taken from Roland's working title for the album, or what he wanted to call the album.
Yeah.
Because when he got to the end of the writing process, he kind of thought, "This is the end. This is probably going to be our last album," and he'd come up with the title "Famous Last Words."
I mean, another band has an album called Famous Last Words.
Yeah.
Supertramp.
Yeah. And funnily enough, one of the working titles for The Thieves of Love was actually Raoul and the Kings of Spain, which he eventually ended up using.
The album after the next one, yeah.
No, it's Raoul and the Kings of Spain.
Yeah, Famous Last Words as a single. The B-sides, Mother's Talk, US remix, and Listen. So they didn't put any effort into that, did they? Really? But
just knocked out.
Yeah, it's a fairly succinct, as you say, 49 minutes, nearly 50-minute album. But I think it's a classic.
I think it's wonderful. No.
now you like.
I struggled with it at the time, and like I said, and I think it's exactly as Mikey said, because it was, for me, it wasn't Tears for Fears as I knew them.
Yeah.
And the singles and stuff that got me into that they had a sound that doesn't really exist on this album, really, if you think about it. I think the closest thing to old fashioned, I mean, I know Mikey said Advice for the Young Heart, and I get that now, but the closest thing for me was Women in Chains. But with the music, the way the music was done, that was the closest.
Well, because it's that sparse intro. Maybe, yeah. I can see where you're coming from.
I mean, I think they did a good choice of the singles.
It's not an album full of singles, and that's why I love it.
Yeah, I think, because I think there's a big distinction between the singles and the album tracks.
Yeah,
the album tracks are a lot more
albumy,
and a lot, they're a lot more you have to listen to, rather than like any throwaway kind of songs that weren't knocking out EOS kind of stuff and any old shit. I think that you can see why they took so long to make it and took the time to craft it. Because I think it's a crafted album, not just a chucked together one in any way, shape, or form.
But they did tour the album in 1990, just for just under 6 months. They started the tour in Ireland, and the very last gig that they played with Roland and Kurt in the band was the Nebworth gig on the 30th of June 1990, the Silver Clef winners thing. There is a live VHS from this tour going to California.
California, yeah.
Never come out on Blu-ray or DVD. I watched it last night. It's interesting. It's quite arty. There's a lot of black and white and colour and strange angles. It opens with Lita Adams singing "I Believe" on her own with a piano. She'd been the support for the tour, and so the way as I understand it, the gigs kind of went. Lita Adams came on, did her support set, finished with "I Believe," and then Tears for Fears walked on and carried on with Lita on stage.
Oh wow!
But the set list changed across the tour, because in the notes for the 5.1, Kurt talks about the tracks that he likes and doesn't like, and has never changed his view on those. So basically, the tracks on side 1 are the ones that he loves, and the tracks on side 2 are.
It isn't.
And the ones that he wasn't involved in.
Well, there is that, yeah.
So, do you think when they were writing them, was side 1? Was it almost like written in order or not? So, as the songwriting was progressing, he was getting like edged out further and further, or not?
I mean, the earlier tracks are at the beginning of side 1. Track 2 and 3 were the earliest tracks to come together, I understand.
So you get that, yeah.
Advice, to be fair, was one of the last songs they finished, but it wasn't necessarily one of the last ones they started writing. So
because Bad Man was written on the tour, wasn't it? Bad Man was written 85 or 80, on the tour.
Yeah. So for an album that's its gestation was 4 years before it was released. It's it's no wonder it cost so much.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I was very conscious of re-listening to this album, and it's always been an often played album of mine, is the lyrical refrain that Roland keeps coming back to, which was the sun, the moon, the wind, the rain. And I was trying to get my head around what he's actually meaning by that, because it does crop up, but it's not just a case of. I think he's quite in tune with Mother Earth and what we're doing to it, and maybe there's an element of that. You've got his next album coming up, which is in fact called Elemental, and it does make you wonder whether these things have come into play earlier on. Maybe I'm just riffing off completely off on a tangent.
No, I think there's probably something in that. Looking at their output as a whole, I think there probably is.
Because I think there's something to be said. It's. I mean, the sun and the moon aren't elements. Well, neither are the wind and the rain either necessarily. But I think he's saying that these things are constant. They will always be. And no matter how things change or what changes we can make or don't make, these things are always there.
Yeah.
I don't. There's something there that I can't quite hinge onto, and I was kind of interested to see what the listeners might, have to say about that.
Please put it in the comments, listeners, if you've got anything to say on that. I think Mikey's onto something here, although I can't quite put it into words myself either.
No, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something there. Another interesting thing about Seeds of Love was the fact that I think early on, as the sessions were gearing up, they kind of realised how much it sounded like the Beatles. And rather than trying to make a Beatles pastiche or trying to steer away from it, they just embraced it. They went, yeah, sounds like the Beatles, let's go with it. And I think they realised the song that it hinged on the most was I Am the Walrus. Now, Roland picked up on the fact that he wanted the track to steadily build and speed up, like I Am the Walrus does, but it does it in such a slow BPM changing way that you don't realise it does. So the track starts at about 85 BPM and ends at 88, so it's not a huge change. But what they did is in order to hinge onto that track, they decided to just hit the click BPM from I Am the Walrus and use it for Sowing the Seeds of Love. But in the end, David Bascom actually used the click track from the Rootles track, Piggy in the Middle, which was obviously their take on I Am the Walrus. So
Eric Idle's been to the lawyers.
I don't think it was a case of that. I just think it was a case of they couldn't get the click track for I'm the Walrus, and it was there for the Rootles.
Oh, believe me, with Python, if there's any money to be had, they'll be at the lawyers, I tell you.
I've got divorces to pay for,
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because you say 3 BPM doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're playing music, when you do the bands often will do a 1 or 2 BPM bump in a chorus to give it a little bit more energy or something. And I know there's a lot of bands do it live, and while it doesn't sound a lot, even if it's just a chord structure or something, when you play that 3 BPM faster, it feels more energetic. So it's not just the build of the song in tempo, it gives it an energy lift as well, which I think is probably part of the reason why they were doing it.
Yeah, I think the song's got a certain momentum to it, and it doesn't drop. It just keeps going and going and going. I think it's. I don't know what I think it is. It's hard to put into words as well. I think it's just that it's so gradual that you don't notice it, but you know that this track just doesn't have an actual end to it. Do you know? If you hear the outtakes that are on the deluxe box set, where there is like an actual end to the song, the album version doesn't do that.
Yeah.
I just thought it was really, really intriguing that they would do such a blatant thing, knowing that it sounds like the Beatles, so let's just make it sound like the Beatles. Let's not shy away from it.
Hey, if it works.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So I wouldn't have noticed it. It got
me
faster.
neither. No.
However, you'll probably find that if somebody, because nowadays the technology, you could change it. They do. You'll see they take things like Van Halen now and they'll put it to a click track and make it all in time, and it sounds fucking awful because it's not the same as you're used to listening to it. And I think that would be this case with this. Like if you played it straight and somebody did it so it stayed at the same BPM all the way through, you'd notice it was different. So it's not something that you'll notice has actually been done, but if it was taken away, you'd notice it.
Haven't they done that with some of the stuff on Queen 1? Queen, as we call it.
I don't know about
I think
tempo change. There's pitch changes. Definitely.
Yeah, it was pitch. I know there's some. I couldn't remember what the tempo pitch changes.
I don't think there's any tempo changes that I notice. I mean, it's all a lot clearer. It's like taking a bloody shroud off it. It's amazing, but I think we may have already said that. I've got an example set list from the NEC in March 1990. So I believe Head Over Heels Broken, Change, Pale Shelter, Woman in Chains, Advice for the Young at Heart, Mad World, The Working Hour, Famous Last Words, Into When the Saints Go Marching In, I've Got to Sing My Song, which was Alita Adams on her own, Bad Man's Song, Seeds of Love, All You Need Is Love, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and then the encore was Year of the Knife and Shout. It's a pretty good set list.
Yeah, that's quite varied across the 3 albums.
Yeah.
So I've just been while we've been talking, I've been doing an internet dive. So Johnny Panic and the Bible of Dreams was a single as well, but it was a dance.
Yeah, in 91, yeah. So overall,
I have got that. I just didn't dig all the CDs.
You sat on loads of CDs and
I'm not surprised, Mikie. I'm not surprised.
Doesn't it work? If anybody had not heard this album, how would you describe it?
Jesus.
It's quite 1989. It's got the, for me, and also for Mikie, I think 1989 was a big year for us for albums. It was big. It was when we were like 17, like 16, 17, we're starting to get into music. And, this was around with albums. I mean, for us, things like Queen's The Miracle and stuff like, there's a lot of stuff, like Billy Joel's Stormfront, Phil Collins but seriously was in 89 that as well.
Yeah.
A certain other band who we do a podcast about.
This is better than The Miracle for me.
Okay, but yeah, 89 was a big year for us, and I think it was it fitted in with what was coming out. I mean, God, it was like Pump by Aerosmith and everything was out in 89. There's so much stuff.
Grae, you look like you're going to say something. Okay.
So for me to describe this, it's kind of difficult because, like I said at the beginning, it's got everything from everything I like about the 80s. And if you listen to some of there's bits of it when I was doing my homework and I was listening, particularly to the extra discs and stuff, and listening to some of the instrumentals and stuff. There is, and it's because of the rhythm section. It's because of the vocalists and what have you that are on it with the band. You hear so much of the other people I loved in the 80s.
Yeah.
So to me, it's kind of a jazz pop thing in places. It's far more organic than a lot of the 80s stuff, but it reflects so much that's going on. It's difficult to pigeonhole.
Yeah. It's I think it's an incredible record.
Yeah.
If you've not heard it, just have a listen on streaming. There's a lot to it. It's not just a pop record. There's a lot of depth to it, and it's a fantastic record. As are the other albums that followed it by Tears for Fears. I've touched on Elemental, the next proper album, which was just Roland on his own, and that's wonderful record. Raoul and the Kings of Spain, which Craig's mentioned, another good record. Tipping Point, their most recent album, is a brilliant record,
and that did really well for them as well. It's
a brilliant record.
I was really surprised by that. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, it's good. And even what's the other one? The album before Tipping Point.
Everybody Loves a Happy Ending.
I like that. That's a good album. But yeah.
But realistically, if we're being filthy, wouldn't that actually come before the Seeds of Love? But
oh dear me!
Apologise.
I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't encourage him. Sorry.
You see, he was doing so well. New podcasts, trying to make a good impression, and now he's blown it.
I bring the filth with us.
Yes, but
John,
big question.
John,
go on.
Sorry, I was just going to go back to your question that you asked about how would you describe the album.
Yes.
I can't do that, but I can tell you what it is.
Go on.
It's a masterclass in production. I think Dave Bascom did a fantastic, epic job finishing the album. It's a masterclass in songwriting. It's a masterclass in musicianship. And I just can't emphasize enough that if you haven't listened to this album, put it on your bucket list and get it listened to.
Yeah.
Whenever I have a change in any hi-fi equipment, be it a new turntable, new speakers, a new CD player, this is the album I pick to listen to anything on its first run.
Yeah. That's a great testimony, Mikey. I mean, the big question, listeners, is what do you think of this album? We're going to throw this up onto Facebook, create a Facebook group for the podcast, and we'd like to see your views on the album. We also would like to throw out to you, is there an album that you think we should discuss? Or is there an album that you'd like to come on and tell us about? We're going to cover classic albums. We're going to cover strange, obscure albums. We're going to cover new albums. But as I say, it's an occasional podcast. Don't know when the next one will be. Hope you've enjoyed this one. But we'll be back. In the words of Arnie, we will be back.
Oil you back.
Yeah. But all that remains to say is thank you very much, Grae and Tennick.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikie K.
It's been a pleasure for me. Thank you.
Big Tears for Fears fan, done his research, brought his homework with him. Extra bonus point for Mikey.
School SWAT.
Yes. And thank you to the pop boy, Craig. Thank you.
Why, thank you, young sir.
Yeah. Keep listening to the music, keep talking about the music, and we'll be back soon with more Planet Music.
It's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Take care.
Stay alive!
Hey!
Yay.
Thanks for listening.
To Planet Music from the makers of Planet Marzipan.
If you like what you've heard, please like and subscribe, and maybe even join our Facebook discussion group.
You can contact us at planetmarzipanpodcast@gmail.com.